if we continue on the current trajectory. Right now, we have close to 1,000 casualties a day.
We're not going to pay people more to stay home than to work.
I would like to see the schools open 100%, and we'll do it safely.
Coronavirus deaths are on the rise in 28 states, with record numbers in the South. It comes as the U.S. closes in on 4 million coronavirus cases. And the grim new statistic showing deaths in the U.S. last week rose 12% compared to the previous week. The former FDA commissioner says we could surpass 300,000 deaths by the end of the year.
If we continue on the current trajectory, right now we have close to 1,000 casualties a day. So if we don't change that trajectory, you could do the math.
On the same day, Dr. Anthony Fauci acknowledged we are not winning the battle to contain the virus. 3 more states, Ohio, Indiana, and Minnesota, along with Washington, D.C., announced mandatory mask orders. That makes 31 states where masks are mandatory in public. There is some good news. The percentage of positive test results is leveling off or decreasing in 21 states.
Another 1.4 million Americans filed new claims for unemployment benefits last week. That's an increase from the prior week, and it snaps a streak of 15 consecutive weeks of declines as the coronavirus continues to batter the U.S. economy. Jobless claims have been above 1 million for 18 straight weeks.
As students returned to school, the Alcoa School District in Tennessee became one of the first in the country to welcome students back for in-person classes Wednesday. Students will be in the building 1 day a week, and classes will have no more than 10 students. In Los Angeles County, where COVID-19 is on the verge of becoming the leading cause of death, county officials are now exploring using parks and libraries as classrooms.
I would like to see the schools open 100%, and we'll do it safely, we'll do it carefully.
At his briefing last night, President Trump again pushed for schools to reopen, claiming children, quote, do not transmit the coronavirus very easily.
A lot of people are saying they don't transmit, and we're looking at that. We're studying, John, very hard, that particular subject, that they don't bring it home with them.
Dr. Deborah Birx from the White House Coronavirus Task Force appeared on Fox News just moments later and was asked whether that claim is true.
There's still open questions there, and that's why the president concluded with, we're studying this very hard.
Republicans on Capitol Hill are trying to hammer out a new economic stimulus package. They say the White House has agreed to support new funding for coronavirus testing.
We've agreed on $25 billion for testing, which is there's $9 billion left over, and we're topping it up with $16 billion.
Right now, 25 million Americans are getting an extra $600 a week to help make ends meet. That benefit stops this weekend unless Washington acts.
We're not going to pay people more to stay home than to work. So we're looking at something that looks like a 70% wage replacement, and we're working on the mechanics of that.
The Trump administration orders the Chinese consulate in Houston to shut down. Critics say the consulate is a, quote, massive spy center.
The Chinese consul general speaking out for the first time.
Are you saying the State Department is lying?
I didn't mention that. If you want to make accusation for us, give us some evidence.
The U.S. ordering China to close its consulate in Houston by tomorrow, accusing Beijing of massive illegal spying. Chinese officials were seen outside the building Wednesday, burning documents before time runs out. The Consul General of Houston does not dispute burning documents, calling it standard procedure for diplomatic compounds to burn internal papers before leaving a foreign post. The order to vacate comes after the U.S. indicted 2 Chinese nationals, accusing them of hacking and trying to steal information from companies working on a coronavirus vaccine. Experts predict Beijing will retaliate, possibly by closing the American consulate in Wuhan, where the coronavirus outbreak began.
The Consul General was allegedly involved in using false IDs to escort Chinese travelers out of Houston's airport. Beijing, meanwhile, calls the closure of the consulate political provocation and says it will sabotage U.S.-China relations.
A Philadelphia police officer is facing assault charges for dousing protesters who were on their knees with pepper spray during a Black Lives Matter protest. Investigators say Officer Paul Nicoletti was especially aggressive, spraying the protesters in the face.
The charges in this matter are simple assault against 3 victims, possession of an instrument of crime, reckless endangerment of another person, and official oppression.
Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z, and I'm watching the storms from overnight. More than 165 severe storm reports. But can I step out so you can see this brilliant capture by Mike here of a time lapse where the lightning strikes very near the Statue of Liberty. So we had those storms move through, and there were a lot more that came with it. It wasn't just lightning. You had really gusty winds, 63-mile-per-hour winds reported around D.C., Charlottesville, Virginia. You see that tree right there over the roadway. And so trees down is always one of the main threats, but obviously you don't want to be out in it because something was caught here, whether it was a little rotation or just a downburst from some of the thunderstorm winds dying out. But Charlottesville certainly had their fair share there in southeastern Virginia. So Hoboken, New Jersey, also have to mention, because it doesn't take a lot to flood, but boy, enough rain to flash flood with those storms that moved through. It looks incredible, but really we saw anywhere from 2 to 3 inches, upwards of 4 once you got into Pennsylvania. It was just that it happened very fast, so it can attack those storm drains. And it's not over. We got another chance at severe weather today, anywhere from northern New Jersey right through downstate New York into southern New England and really all the way up to Maine. So you see all of Massachusetts included, Connecticut and Rhode Island. Watch today for the damaging wind threat number 1, but an isolated tornado not out of the question.